I just want to kind of make sure I get this right as far as this saga that we heard about Saban to Texas circa 2012 and 2013 from your turn with Corby Davidson and Texas Rangers owner Tom Hicks, and also a part of that University of Texas Board of Regents when it comes to Nick Saban's recent past. But as far as I mean, we all know how it turned out, but as far as that overall story, as far as Saban to Texas 6 years ago, something came to mind, Martin, to me this morning before you came in that I wanted to get your deal or no deal on. The quote that we played just a few days ago from Tom Hicks, from your turn with Corby Davidson, in the words of Shakespeare from Macbeth, it's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
I don't know if he's an idiot, but everything else in that statement would be true. I mean, it's a 6-year-old story, number one. Is there some truth to it? Probably. But I heard people yesterday saying, like, why didn't Saban go? And they were dogging Texas. The guy never said Texas reached out to Saban. I mean, you know what I mean? Like everybody was making it like, well, he turned Texas down. From the way that the guy told the story, the way Hicks told the story, James, is Saban initiated the contact and was looking to go to Texas. And the reason that he didn't was because Mac Brown was not ready to leave. So, but yeah, telling this story 6 years later, making it sound like there was this big love affair, pursuit by Nick Saban. That's a whole lot of noise with not a lot of bang behind it. So I would say deal but I don't know if he's an idiot or not.
Leaving that in the past, going from a past power to at least one of those present powers of college football, the Clemson Tigers, just like Alabama, they've been in that college football national championship discussion, the playoff discussion since 2015. But here's where Cecil Hurt comes in, because Martin, he came on a recent visit a couple days ago with Travis Reier on Southern Fried Sports, and let's just say, I'll just let you do the deal or no deal. But first, as far as what Cecil Hurt had to say about the ACC and the type of competition Clemson faces in the ACC.
The ACC, and this is taking nothing away from Clemson, but they desperately need for either Miami or Florida State to get good again. And Florida State's been good recently enough. You know, when James was there and Jimbo, they won the national championship. So it's not like it's been a drought like Miami's has been. But there is not, and we're going into media days. People talk about, well, what are they going to talk about at media days? And I have some idea of what the SEC coaches are going to talk about. What do the ACC coaches talk about? There's not an interesting ACC game on the schedule. There's not one. I mean, there's some that will be close, but...
Well, there's interesting games, but they involve the SEC.
Yeah, I'm talking about...
That's the interesting games in the ACC.
Yeah, Clemson, Texas A&M is interesting, just because that's the only way you can see Clemson losing is against an SEC team.
So, deal or no deal, the only way you can see Clemson losing is against an SEC team.
Yeah, when we looked at the schedule, I think their top two opponents, top two toughest opponents, most likely are SEC teams, Texas A&M and South Carolina. In South Carolina, as much because it's kind of the Auburn-Alabama factor, in-state rivalry, but Texas A&M is probably the one team. Now, whether it's because they have their number or not, for whatever reason, they struggle against Syracuse every year, but that should not be because they're on the same talent level. I don't know what they do against Syracuse every year that makes it interesting, but the only legit game that they will be even closely contested from a favorite standpoint, James, would be the Texas A&M game. And once again, that's an SEC opponent. So I would say no deal on them losing a game before the playoffs.
So deal or no deal, take out Clemson in the equation for the ACC overall as far as the quality of the conference, and they'd be a run-of-the-mill mid-major conference.
You know what's funny is 2 years or 3 years ago when Jimbo Fisher and a couple other guys, Fedora and some of those guys were hot commodities, everybody thought the ACC had the best set of coaches, had surpassed the SEC. And now 2 years later, I guess Dabo is doing to the ACC what Saban did to the SEC. Other than Clemson, if you were to remove Clemson, I think ACC now quickly becomes the weakest conference. I mean, even behind the Pac-12. I mean, it's just not. It's just, and it may be. I mean, who else do you have? Is there a legitimate threat in that conference for a playoff team?
Not that I see on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, if any of those teams lose one game, would they get in over another team that's lost one game? If you take out Clemson,
no.
And I don't know that if Clemson loses a game within the conference, they're going to be kind of in that same boat. They may get it based on respect, James, but from a just pure competition standpoint, Clemson's in a tight spot. If they were to lose one game and all the other conferences have a good run, say USC has a good run and goes 11-1 and wins their championship, would you take that USC team out of the Pac-12 over a one-loss Clemson team? I think you have to have that conversation. Clemson may edge them out because they've been in the college football playoffs in 2 out of the last 3 championships, but the road would have probably been tougher for USC to do that.
So we've gone out to Texas, gone over to the ACC. Time to come back home when it comes to SEC Media Days, just up 2059 in Hoover beginning on Monday. Now, Bama doesn't go until Wednesday, but you'll have Jerry Jeudy, Dylan Moses, and Tua making their way to Birmingham on Wednesday to appear before us folks in the media for their first, I guess we'll say preseason appearance of the 2019 season. So, just simply, deal or no deal, good thing that Tua is going up to SEC Media Days.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that, it kind of avoided that last year in terms of being big powerhouses going up there. I find it interesting, James, not just that Tua is going, but that all 3 guys that are going are juniors, not redshirt juniors, not fourth-year guys, but 3-year guys. And that's good and bad. That means that you have leadership other than just your seniors, which is always a positive thing. But the reverse of that, it could mean that you don't have a lot of senior leadership. And I believe, like Coach Stallings, having been around a while, having played a lot of football, tends to help you become a better leader. That's why he had his senior council, senior breakfast, because he always said he didn't believe you had to necessarily be a superstar player and a starter to be a leader and one who could bring about a lot of influence. So find it interesting, but who else would you take, James? I mean, so deal, it is a good thing that Tua is there. Deal, it's a good thing as juniors. Concerned that no seniors were amongst that group of people chosen to go.
So deal or no deal as far as Dylan Moses is concerned. Certainly an important position when it comes to linebacker depth and leadership-wise when it comes to Nick Saban's defense. But as far as importance to the team overall, Dylan Moses, the most important player on this team, maybe besides Tua Tagovailoa, that Alabama does not need to see go down to a hypothetical injury.
Yeah, that was actually one of the topics that I considered discussing today. May kick it over to tomorrow to go in a little more in-depth on that. But I'm not sure he's not more important than Tua. I'm not sure that when you look at if Tua goes down, do you have enough talent in the supporting cast offensively that the offense would fall off some, but you still could win. You still could play winning football. On the flip side, James, if Dylan Moses goes down, would you have more confidence in Dylan Moses' backup or Mac Jones? At least we know Mac Jones.
Well, at least Mac Jones has been on the field.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Who's the backup to Dylan Moses? So I would say no deal on Dentua. Drop off. Is Dylan Moses the most important player, most indispensable Crimson Tider this year? Very well, maybe Dylan Moses and what he brings to the table.
One more deal or no deal for you.
I tell you what, we can just carry deal or no deal over.
We'll do one more before we go to the break, though. So all 14 coaches from last year return this year and will be appearing in Hoover. So all 14 coaches that will appear this year at SEC Media Days will also be at SEC Media Days in 2020.
No deal. 2 years in a row? Somebody's going to tank. Somebody out of that 14 is going to absolutely tank. Somebody's going to have success, James, early, and everybody's going to get hyped, and then they're going to fall off at the end. And I'm not saying who yet, but they're going to get drilled down the stretch, and then that fan base is going to think that they deserve the next Nick Saban, and they're going to run him off. So I would say 2 years in a row, 14 straight coaches, no deal, no way. Even if it's some guy leaving and jumping ship and going somewhere else, even without being fired. So